Also, let's bring in, I think we have Thane Rosenbaum with us right now to talk about the implications of this new ruling. The way I interpreted this, Thane, is the Supreme Court said the Congress can't write a law and then have the executive branch willy-nilly decide what rules to apply, and it has to adhere to something that Congress had in mind. Is that the way you look at this, and what's the implication of that?
Exactly, Bob. And actually, we had an earlier case this term in the Supreme Court, you may recall, when OSHA required companies with over 100 employees to demand that they be vaccinated for COVID and take tests for COVID. And the Supreme Court stepped in and said, this exceeds your regulatory authority. You're in the business in OSHA of occupational hazards, not public health. You don't get the right to determine those regulations. So you're quite right. What the Supreme Court is simply saying here is these agencies are regulatory. They're unelected. Yes, they're in the executive branch, but sometimes they act independent of the executive branch, right? Because they believe they have such expertise that they're like lecturing to everyone what's correct, and so obviously this impinges on states' rights and corporate rights to have an unelected body make those decisions. All those Supreme Court saying is when it comes to policy on major decisions, Congress has that authority, and no agency can set nationwide standards. In this case, what they were saying is you can only establish standards by each coal company, each power plant, one at a time. You cannot establish nationwide standards. That's something for Congress to do, not the EPA.
All right. Right after the ruling, the Biden administration announced a new 5-year offshore drilling plan. The proposed program for offshore drilling between 2023 and 28 would ban exploration off the Atlantic and Pacific coast, leaves possibility, though, for new drilling in parts of the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of Alaska. How would this kind of thing be affected? Now, I don't want to get into whether it's a good idea to allow drilling offshore. The question is who's making those decisions, right? Isn't that essentially what this comes down to? Who's making those decisions, and are they being responsive to the public, which can vote them into office?
So, Bob, you're absolutely right. This goes to this issue of executive authority, right? Executive orders, executive action. When an agency, or in this case, the Biden administration, is trying to circumvent Congress in either its legislative role in setting forth policy or in its financial role in paying for it, right? So we've seen this in all administrations, Democratic and Republican, where the executive branch undertakes its own policy through executive order. Remember this other issue about the Remain in Mexico case that we haven't discussed this moment. That was another example of a President Trump executive order to make sure that asylum seekers coming from South America do not cross over, that they have to remain in Mexico. That wasn't done by Congress. That was done by executive order. And similarly, what you're seeing here in this and I suspect the Biden administration felt the pressure in light of what happened with this EPA case from last week to assert its authority over environmental policy.
All right. Thane Rosenbaum, thank you so much, sir. Good seeing you.
Anytime, Bob. Thank you.